I feel like I am in the pivot. I wanted Girlfriends and Coffee to take over for Thursdays on the podcast and share an hour discussing what it's like to pivot and share their experience and then a piece of advice. Little did I know, after the first recording I did with Paula, things would so drastically take a turn of just, I'm still trying to figure out how to explain all this. I'll fast forward, or we'll go rewind. July 9th, I am in the hospital, in the ER, going through some heart palpitation type of things, and rapid heartbeat was fluctuating. And being told that basically my potassium had tanked out and I was days away from a heart attack, or cardiac episode, as they said. I remember my D-dimer being really, really high, and they needed to get me to a CAT scan to basically make sure I did not have any blood clots in my chest. I'll never forget it. I was on the bed being wheeled to the CAT scan room, feeling like I was dying, like my heart was just slowly shutting down. And I remember, like, we round this corner and I came into the presence of the holiness of God. I was like, oh no, here we go. I'm going now. And I remember I just kept praying because it hit me so strongly that I have not done half of what he's asked me to do, which is traveling, speaking, and helping people tell their stories. I had been so afraid to travel, not be home, all these things. And then the whole helping people tell their stories. Sometimes that didn't always go well, and the warfare that came with that every time, I was just like, throughout the years, I just shut down. But that's rebellion. When God is asking you to do something and you tell him no, that's rebellion. That's disobedience. And I knew, like, had I had died in that hallway, it would not be done, well done, my good and faithful servant. It was going to be answering for why didn't you do what I asked you to do? And I just remember I was like, I'm not ready. Don't let me come yet. Don't let me come yet. I will do what you've asked me to do. I'm not ready. And it started this, and then the CAT scan was fine. And then I started immediately getting my strength back. It was like Jonah. And then I came home and I was taking potassium supplements and I was getting my joy back. Now, mind you, this was right after months of depression and mourning the loss of our son, and which is going to be a whole nother podcast on it. But I thought I had menopause. Like, I didn't know my potassium was low. I didn't know it was in danger of a cardiac episode. I just kept hearing all about menopause, and I'm like, oh, that must be me. That must be what I'm going through, and da-da-da-da. So then I start getting stronger, and then July 25th, I'm so excited. I have this opportunity to go be a vendor at a conference. But when you're a vendor, you are sitting down at your table for hours and hours and hours. I didn't think anything of it. I sat for hours and hours and hours. And but that night, I started having some discomfort along the underwear line on the left thigh. And I was like, maybe it's just like some sort of heat rash. I just, I stayed too long in seating. And then Saturday, I went back as a conference attendant. And I was like, oh, every time I sit and stand, like, this hurts. But I felt like I needed to be there. And then Saturday, I go riding around, door dashing with my husband. This is July 26th. And he gets me diaper rash cream because I hit the Googles and that can be helpful for heat rash. So we do that. I get home. I'm feeling, it doesn't hurt. I mean, only when I sat down and stood up. but like I'm feeling where the area was where I presumed the rash was. So I'm lathering it up and I go to sleep, and then I wake up and I'm like, well, let me clean the area and reapply some cream. And I start to clean the area, and it is this purple drainage filling up every thing I put in there, every wet wipe that I used. And I panicked because it was flashing me back to 2021 when I had fibroids, and I would be sometimes trapped in the bathroom for like a half hour to an hour just from going to the, urinating, to trying to stand up to pull my underwear up that had a bunch of pads on it. I would clots on the floor. And this, I panicked. And so I quickly put a bunch of pads and underwear and like before, and I went back to sleep. And then when I woke up, I was like, okay, maybe that was just a fluke. When I woke up, it was so much blood, you couldn't tell if it was coming from my lady area or what I thought was that heat rash. And I was like, I've had a hysterectomy. Nothing should be coming from the lady area. So I told my husband, I'm like, please get me to the hospital. So he gets me to the hospital, and I have a male doctor. And I go, I think I have a heat rash. And as soon as like I spread my legs so he can see my thigh, he was like, no, that is an abscess that ruptured and it's draining. And I'm like, what? And he was like, you're looking at surgery, and I've got to get you to a CAT scan. I have to see how far this infection went up. And I was just like, what? And so I just panicked, and I started sending out all of these prayer texts to my close friends. And it was like on my last time of sending out the text, like I could just feel these waves of healing coming from heaven to me. And I'm like, wow. And then they take me to the CAT scan, and I'm just more repenting. I'm laying there in the CAT scan, and I'm like, God, I miss the me that I was. I was so full of hope. Even when I had cancer back in 2006 through 11, I would be like, I can't wait to see how God is going to use this for his glory. And I knew God didn't give it to me. But I knew like he was using it, and it was going to be used for my good. Genesis, I believe it's 50:20. But I had a lot of Job's friends back then that just kind of put it in my head that basically anything that happened to me, I was being taught something by God, or I had sin that I didn't know about, or just things. And it really, for decades, it messed with who I thought God was. And every time something bad happened to me, I would somehow be like, well, my faith wasn't strong enough for this or that. And I would just be like, I did it. And so here I am in the CAT scan on July 27th. And I'm just like, God, please not only heal my physical body, heal my broken heart. Because I hate who I've become. I've been so angry. But ooh, I can wear that smile. And again, like waves of healing, like swoosh, swoosh. And then from there, they wheel me back in the CAT scan, and I go to the bathroom, and it was stopping draining. Like it was from a steady stream. It became just like these little droplets. And I was like, oh, thank God. And then CAT scan was back, and the doctor looked, and he said, huh. And I go, what do you mean, huh? And he was like, well, it's not what I was expecting. It's good. And I was like, huh? And he goes, I don't think you're going to need surgery. And he was like, but we do have to send you over to Martin Plant, and we need you to get, I'm sorry, y'all. Sorry, it's 4:52 a.m. And I'm like, oh, I didn't release my episode yesterday. So he was like, we need to get you over to Morton Plant and hit you really, really hard with the antibiotics. And I was like, okay. So got me over to Morton Plant. And I ended up with my own room, which I was praying because your girl snores and I didn't want to wake anybody up. And I was praying for my own room. And I could tell you, like, when it finally ruptured, like, it didn't hurt anymore. And, well, they didn't know, the hospital didn't know what we were dealing with. Were we dealing with, like, I don't even want to put these things out there, but they didn't know. So infectious disease would come and, like, all these other teams. And so I want to pause here and take you back to last year, 2024. So take you back to 2016. Within a few weeks back in 2016, I had all this mysterious joint pain that felt like it came on suddenly. And they would be like, oh, we don't know what's wrong with you. You look like lupus, but it's not showing up. And we're just going to say it's fibromyalgia. And I lost the quality of my life from like 2016 till I end up in this hospital in 2025. Like I could barely walk upstairs. I could just barely walk at all. Everything would hurt. I would get jobs. I would lose jobs. Like just couldn't keep up. But in 2024, I had a tooth infection and I was given oral antibiotics. And from that, I had 5 days of no pain. 5 days. 5 days of no pain. 5 days break in all those years. And I was like, wait, there has to be a connection with the joint pain and antibiotics. So from there, I researched and I found something called reactive arthritis, and it actually comes in through your gut, like if you've had food poisoning or anything like that. And I brought it up to my doctor, and she goes, oh, I don't know. We've been dealing with this since 2016, and like, I'm not quite sure if this is reactive arthritis. And now you're starting to show lupus markers on the blood work and everything. And I was like, I know, but there's a connection. And, I said, I did research and it's cured through a really strong round of antibiotics. And they were like, well, I'm not sure. So then we go, as Ross is taking me to the hospital, the first hospital. On July 27th, I have this vision of now you're going to get those antibiotics to kill the virus that's been attacking your joints. And then I'm going into the hospital, and within minutes, I'm in my own ER room, and they're talking about all these strong antibiotics I'm going to get at the other hospital. And I was like, ooh, maybe, just maybe. This is going to like also take care of the joint issue. So fast forward, I am in the second hospital that I got transferred to, because the first hospital is just an ER room. And then if you need to get situated somewhere, they will transfer you to the other hospital. So they wheel me in. I have my own room, this amazing view. I start feeling amazing because the abscess had already drained. They ended up giving me the first round of antibiotics when I was in the first hospital. And then they let me get situated, get dinner, all of that in the second hospital. And then the nurse comes in at night and she was like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I go, what? And she goes, I have to give you vancomycin. And I'm like, okay. And I go, why does your face look like that? And she goes, it's one of the strongest on the market. And because we don't know what they're dealing with, that is what we're doing. And I'm like, oh, well, okay then. So she gives me vancomycin. And what happens to me after my first round? I feel amazing. What happens after my second round? I feel amazing. Third, amazing. Then they switch to a different type of antibiotics. Amazing, amazing. I'm like, I don't know how to be in here and not feel like I'm dying. I was like, I feel so good. And so here we are on August 15th. I don't have joint pain anymore. And so I will say God has done so many. I have like a journal of 8 pages on how God just kept showing up and showing up during this, which I'll make some other episodes. But my pivot season right now is I got out of the hospital, I think it was July 29th. And I'm like, I want to go live. I want to go walk. Like, I have these new legs and they don't hurt anymore. And I have been like, I want to go out and do this and this and this and this. And so periodically, you know, I'd go out with my husband and like go do some things. And then I think it was like Saturday, my husband's been checking the wound every day, and he was like, oh, it closed up. Y'all, I was thinking I was past all this as soon as I heard that. I did not know how long it actually is going to take a wound to close and remain closed. And I was like, woohoo! So Sunday and Monday, I did a lot of walking, a lot of sitting, a lot of running errands, like just all this stuff. Monday, I go to Bible study, and I had this weird feeling like I overdid it. And I went to the bathroom after the Bible study, and my wound opened back up, and I'm like, no. So Tuesday, it was, basically everybody was saying in the hospital, just start living in your nightgowns, letting it all air out. If you don't have to wear underwear, don't wear it, everything. So I was like, oh man, I got to get back in my nightgowns. And I went through depression earlier this year, and that's all I was in is my nightgowns, and I isolated myself. And now apparently I have to stay home in my nightgowns and do it all over again. But now I want to go out and experience things, and I miss people and all the stuff. So Wednesday I tried going to a network meeting, and I was there probably 30 minutes. And I wear boxers now because where the underwear line is for the other underwear, so I switched to like boxers, and I had pants on, which means I was creating a lot of friction in that area. And I went to the bathroom right as the start of the network meeting, and I start seeing droplets where it was possibly the wound was opening again. And I freaked, and I called my husband, and I'm like, all right, I'm only going to stay for an hour, and then please come get me. So we did that, and I have been it's now Friday morning. I spent all day yesterday in a nightgown. I showered, got into another nightgown. So I guess I'm going to stop trying to rush this and suck it up, buttercup type of thing, and just believe God. He's going to continue to heal this wound. And I'm going to have patience and enjoy my time at home, I guess. But it's hard. It's hard. I want to get out. I want to go walk. Because so many times my husband would drive me through parks because I couldn't walk long distances. And, but it's good. I'm excited. I'm going to, we're checking, and I started calling it a boo-boo because to call it a wound was freaking me out. So we're going to continue checking the boo-boo, checking the skin around it, making sure it's staying healthy and getting stronger. And maybe Sunday I will venture out and have coffee with friends. But if it doesn't look strong enough, I'm going to suck it up and switch that to a Zoom or something. But that's my pivot, is just learning patience and praying that God's going to do something amazing through this time. I'm like, well, Forrest Frank broke his back and he wrote 2 songs, and David Crowder broke his leg and he wrote a song. Should I write a song? Like, I don't write songs, but I'm like, what can I do during this time? So yeah, that is my pivot story. If y'all could just pray for me to not rush this, but for the healing to be rushed would be great. And no more reinfection or anything. I just want it completely stabilized and healed. And yeah. All right. Thank you all so much for journeying with me.